Hello, my magnificent Leo souls, my radiant lions and lionesses of the zodiac, and welcome back to Cosmic Wisdom. Gather close, because the universe is asking for your undivided attention today. If you have found your way to this message, I want you to know it is no accident. Your powerful intuition, that golden inner compass that is your birthright, has guided you here for a reason. Are you ready to hear a truth that your heart has been roaring in whispers? A truth that might just shake the very foundations of your kingdom, only to help you rebuild it stronger, brighter, and more authentically than ever before. Because we need to talk about a shadow that may have fallen over your brilliant light. We need to talk about a man in your orbit who is hiding something, but for you, my dear Leo, it's so much more than a simple secret. It's an energy that is subtly dimming your shine, and you need to see it for what it is before you forget the feeling of your own sun. You don't always see a challenge to your throne with your eyes. Sometimes it's the applause that feels hollow. It's a compliment that has a hidden edge. It's a love that asks you to be a little less you. You, the glorious, radiant heart of the zodiac, may have dismissed these feelings, telling yourself you're being overly sensitive or demanding too much. But today, I am not here to plant seeds of doubt. Oh no. I am here as your guide, as a friend to your soul, to help you remember the magnificent, unapologetic, and powerful being you have always been. In the journey we are about to embark on, I will speak to your heart, and I will say this: that energy around you, that subtle dimming of your light, is real. And if you don't listen to that royal roar inside of you this time, the deepest ache won't come from him. It will come from the sovereign who abdicated their own throne, the sun that agreed to be in eclipse just to keep someone in a world that was growing darker by the day. So take a deep breath, my beautiful Leo. You are not alone in this. The cosmos is rallying around you, and the noble echo of your ancestors is begging you to straighten your crown before it's too late. If this message is already stirring something deep within your soul, do not let that feeling pass. Acknowledge it by tapping that like button and consider subscribing to Cosmic Wisdom, because this is a community where your light is always celebrated, never dimmed. We are on this path together. Some fractures in a royal court don't come with the clash of swords. They arrive in the quiet moments. They come with praise that feels more like a cage, a smile that doesn't quite reach the eyes when you share a triumphant success, or a silence that falls right when you expect a standing ovation. Leo, you have felt these things, haven't you? Not with logic, but with that deep, fiery instinct in your solar plexus, that place where your confidence and your spirit burn as one. You felt that flicker, that subtle drop in temperature when you walk into a room, and yet you brushed it aside. You told yourself, maybe he's just tired, or I can't expect everyone to be as passionate as I am. You, the master of performance, put on your most brilliant smile, even as your inner light felt a little less certain, a little less warm. This is the grand paradox of your magnificent sign. You are ruled by the sun itself, born to shine, to lead, to express your heart with breathtaking courage. You have invisible antennae that are tuned to the frequencies of admiration, respect, and loyalty. You don't need a diploma to know when someone's applause is genuine. You just need to feel their energy, and you will know if they are truly celebrating you or simply placating you. And lately, perhaps, you felt your own energy begin to wane in their presence. Have you noticed those afternoons you're recounting a brilliant idea, a victory at work, a creative project that sets your soul on fire, and all you receive in return is a lukewarm, "Oh, that's nice," or a quick change of subject? No one is insulting you. No one is telling you to stop. But somehow, the very air grows heavy, and you can feel that your radiance is not being matched, it's being managed. And so, what do? You, the roaring lion, begin to temper your passion. You share your victories with a little less fanfare. You pitch your dreams a little more quietly. You fold your magnificent fiery wings inward, not because of a winter storm, but because of the subtle, cooling breeze coming from a man who still says he adores you. Maybe this is your partner, your king consort. Or perhaps it's a close friend, a business partner, someone whose validation you've come to value. You don't dare name the suspicion in your heart, because to name it feels like a betrayal of your own loyalty. To name it means you have to look at the possibility that your kingdom for two has a traitor in the court. And to face that means you must choose between demanding the respect you deserve and preserving a peace that is starting to feel profoundly empty. The universe whispers to you constantly, Leo. The great spiritual masters have always taught that your outer world is a reflection of your inner state. If your inner sun is bright, your world should be filled with light. So why do you keep pretending not to see the encroaching shadows? Why do you choose a comfortable, quiet court over the vibrant, thundering truth of your heart? I know why. Because you are a Leo. Your loyalty is legendary. Your heart is generous beyond measure. You don't run at the first sign of trouble. You believe you can fix it. You believe your warmth is powerful enough to melt any iciness, that your light can banish any shadow. You would rather pour your own brilliant energy into a black hole than admit that the person you love cannot or will not reflect your light back to you. And in that noble, breathtaking effort to illuminate them, you are the one being drained. A 55-year-old Leo man, a brilliant creative director, once shared this with me. He said, "I never saw him do anything wrong. He told me I was a genius. He praised my work. But every time I got a big new client or won an award, he'd celebrate for a moment and then immediately find a way to talk about his own problems or how stressful my success must be for our relationship. At first I thought he was just being sensitive, but slowly I stopped telling him about my biggest wins. And one day I realized I was actively downplaying my own success just to keep him comfortable. Do you see it now, my dear Leo? The most insidious form of control isn't a command. It's an atmosphere. It's a subtle conditioning that makes your very brightness seem like a problem to be solved. That is no longer love. That is an eclipse, a slow creeping shadow being cast over the magnificent blazing sun of your soul. And because you are a fixed fire sign, you think you can outshine it, you think you can burn it away. But your soul was not born to fight for its own light in its own home. You were born to be a beacon. You need a kingdom where your light is the cherished centerpiece, not a bonfire that everyone is trying to keep from getting out of control. Sometimes you sit in a room beside him and everything on the surface is perfect, but you feel a profound hollowness you can't name, as if your royal spirit has already left the throne room, leaving only a polite placeholder behind. That is not just a mood, my friend. That is your intuition. And for a Leo, your intuition is the royal decree of your soul. It has never been wrong. You know you felt something. You know this quiet unease didn't appear from nowhere. You know you're holding on, not because you are weak, but because your heart is courageous and your loyalty is true blue. You give people endless chances, even when you are the one who needs their support. You choose to shine brighter, hoping to inspire them, but sometimes that very act is what makes them shrink away, casting an even longer shadow. I am not here to tell you to declare war. I am not here to tell you who is right or wrong. I am only asking you this. Are you still listening to that roar inside? The one that rumbles when you sense his praise is a performance. The voice that whispers, "This is not how a king should feel." As you lie in the dark, feeling inexplicably small, the one that has been trying to tell you that something is dimming your light and you've been trying to outshine it with a forced smile. You don't have to be strong for everyone else, Leo. You just have to be true to your own fire. You don't have to leave anyone. You just have to return to the throne of your own heart and reclaim the hand of the magnificent sovereign who's been standing there, wondering why their light is no longer seen. You once heard your heart roar, and you chose a polite silence. Are you willing to listen to it again? In the next part, I'll show you why that hollowness, that feeling of being unseen, is not a coincidence. It is a sacred alarm, a cosmic signal from the universe that something is being hidden, and you deserve to know before it costs you your crown. If you have journeyed this far with me, perhaps you've been quieting your own roar just to keep the peace. Please leave a declaration below this video. Not for me, but as a decree to the universe. A simple, powerful statement. I am ready to reclaim my light. Come with me now into the next part where signs are no longer coincidences, but cosmic warnings from your royal court. You were standing before your own reflection one day. The clothes were right, the hair was perfect, everything looked the same. But something felt off. You couldn't name it. Just a sensation without words, like looking at a portrait of a king or queen where the artist has forgotten to paint the sparkle in their eyes. At first, you dismissed it. You thought, maybe it's just a long week, or I'm just being dramatic. But the feeling didn't leave. It lingered like a persistent cloud passing over your sun, whispering something you didn't want to hear, but also couldn't keep pretending not to feel. Leo, not every coincidence is random. Sometimes it's the way the universe tries to get the attention of its most radiant child. It's a recurring number, perhaps your birth date, or a power number like 8 showing up on receipts and clocks right after a moment of feeling diminished. It's a song about standing tall and shining bright that plays on the radio the moment you think of them. It's a dream that repeats, not of you falling, but of you being on a grand stage with the spotlight suddenly going out, leaving you standing, alone, in the dark. It is not your imagination. It is your royal intuition. And for a Leo, intuition is a sacred language of power. No one teaches it. No one can explain it, but you always understand it if you are brave enough to trust its fire. Have you ever felt it? You're sharing a brilliant accomplishment, and suddenly you notice your reflection in a window and you look tired, smaller. Even though you're talking about a huge success, you're asleep and you dream that you're roaring, but no sound comes out. You're surrounded by friends laughing and holding court. And then one look from him makes you second guess. Your story makes you pull your energy back, makes you feel too much. These are all signals, my beautiful Leo. They are not meant to lead you away in fear, but to lead you back to your own throne. The Buddha taught us to be awake in the midst of life's dream. And the universe is whispering to you, its solar-powered child. Those who seek their own light will find it. Those who listen to their own roar will be heard. But are you seeking? Are you listening? Or are you still trying to be the sun in a solar system that is asking you to be a moon? There was a Leo woman, a powerful 64-year-old executive, who shared this with me. For weeks, she kept finding old photos of herself from her 30s, a time when she was unapologetically ambitious and fiercely independent. They'd fall out of books, show up in her social media memories. She said, "In every photo, I had this fire in my eyes. I was laughing, head thrown back, taking up space. My husband always said he loved that about me, but seeing those photos, I realized I hadn't laughed like that in years. I hadn't felt that big in years." 3 weeks later, she discovered he had turned down a major career opportunity for her on her behalf because he thought it would be too stressful for them as a couple. He hadn't even told her. She said the pain wasn't just the betrayal of the act. It was the crushing realization that the universe had been showing her pictures of her own lost fire, and she hadn't trusted the message. You see, Leo, your memories, your dreams, your past victories, they are not just history. They are a map back to your own soul. They are where your power, your confidence, and your ancestral lineage of leadership intertwine to send you life-saving signals. You were born with the ability to sense the subtle power dynamics in any room. You can see what no one speaks. You can hear the envy hiding beneath a compliment. And you know with a certainty that burns in your chest when something is not right. But the hardest part is not the sensing. It's trusting what you sense. Because on the surface, everything looks fine. There's no evidence, no facts, just you and that flicker of your inner flame. And you're afraid you might be wrong. You're afraid that roaring about your feelings will make you look demanding or insecure. You're afraid they'll call you an egomaniac. And because you are terrified of losing their love and admiration, you turn your back on your own royal spirit. But Leo, you don't need proof. You need courage. The courage to say, "I am not certain what is happening, but I trust the fire in my own heart, and I will no longer allow it to be diminished." That is the beginning of healing. Not from anyone else, but from you, the sovereign, learning to stand with their own magnificent truth. Is there a dream you've had that you've dismissed as just a silly fantasy? An old passion project you've shelved because it seemed impractical in the context of your relationship? An intuition you once had that made you want to roar, but you swallowed it down and smiled instead? You may forget, but your soul does not. Because a truth ignored for a Leo doesn't just return as pain. It returns as a loss of vitality. It returns as creative block. It returns as a feeling of being a supporting character in your own life story. I know you've clutched your chest before, not from illness, but because your fiery heart felt like it was being doused with water. I know you've woken up in the middle of the night feeling a cold dread, a feeling that your kingdom is under siege. I know you've stood in the middle of a celebration in your honor and thought, "I'm performing a role that no longer feels like me." That is a warning. That is a message. That is the universe whispering, "Wake up, my son child. Come back. Stop dimming your own light to make someone else feel comfortable in the shadows." And if you are still proud enough and brave enough to trust the glorious fire within you, will realize the man standing beside you is not just hiding something. He is slowly making you doubt the very radiance you were born to share with the world. In the next part, I will speak more about this dynamic, not with anger, but with the clarity of a sunbeam cutting through fog. I will show you the kind of subtle manipulation he may be using, not with overt commands, but with praise that confines, with adoration that isolates, with a kind of love that makes you shrink your brilliant kingdom just to fit into the cottage of his comfort. And the terrifying part isn't that he's deceiving you. It's that you are starting to deceive yourself just to keep a performance you still call love. Come with me into the next part. There is no need to rush, only the need to be breathtakingly honest. Because there, you will begin to name what your royal heart has known all along. This is no longer a partnership. This is a subtle coup. There is a kind of affection that has no name for cruelty. It leaves no bruises. It doesn't scream or issue ultimatums. It stays sweet, like a constant chorus of praise, but a chorus so often repeated that you forget you once wrote your own symphony. Leo love is not always liberation. Sometimes it is a golden throne in a very small room. A throne so comfortable and so beautiful that you don't realize you've stopped exploring your own kingdom. Have you ever sat beside someone, listened to them, tell you how brilliant, how powerful, how utterly captivating you are? Yet within their words, you felt the walls closing in, as if the more you were adored, the less space you had to be wild, to be flawed, to be human. A love without true freedom, and you, once a blazing sun, now feel like a perfectly polished gemstone in someone else's collection. There are men who don't need to lock you in a castle. They just need to make you feel that your power is a fragile thing that only they can protect. There are men who don't forbid you from seeing your friends. They simply sigh and say, "No one understands you like I do," making every other relationship feel shallow in comparison. They say, "You shine so brightly, it's best we keep our world private and safe." And so you miss the party, you turn down the collaboration, you fold your grand, expansive dreams away and call it protecting our special connection. No one forced you. You chose it, haunted by a noble sense of loyalty and a deep appreciation for being worshipped. And from then on, you began to live like a monarch in a gilded cage, forever grateful to the keeper who polishes the bars. A Leo soul is not afraid of devotion. You are always the first to defend your loved ones, to fight for your pride. You are the one who throws the most lavish parties, gives the most thoughtful gifts, and offers a shoulder to cry on that feels as strong as a mountain. You believe your love can empower, heal, and transform everything it touches. But have you ever wondered if sometimes that very adoration you receive is a form of manipulation? If it's being used not to elevate you, but to isolate you? Love should not make you smaller. Love should not make you second-guess your own brilliance. It should not cause you to hesitate when you want to take a new stage, learn a new skill, or lead a new charge. If every time you think of expanding your kingdom, you feel a pang of guilt that it might upset the delicate balance of your relationship, then that is not love. That is a leash made of spun gold. Leo, you carry within you an entire cosmos, a universe powered by a central sun. Each time you love someone, you invite them to be the primary planet in your solar system. You offer them your warmth, your light, your life-giving energy without reservation. You show them your ambitions, your insecurities, and the secret dreams you harbor for your legacy. But not everyone is worthy of that orbit. Some enter your solar system, and instead of basking in your light, they try to build a Dyson sphere around you. They want to contain your energy for their own use. They begin to subtly criticize your friends, your passions, the very things that make you you. They call it protecting you, but it's really about controlling the source of the light. They love you, but only for the warmth you provide them, not for the supernova you are capable of becoming. A Leo woman, a fiery artist in her 40s, once told me her eyes flashing with a truth she was just beginning to accept. "I used to love going out, being the center of attention, dancing all night." He said he fell in love with my vibrant energy. But soon it became, "Let's just stay in, it's more intimate." Or, "Those people don't appreciate you, they just want your energy." So I stopped going out, not because he forbade me, but because I wanted him to feel secure. And then one day, a friend sent me a video of us from years ago, and I was dancing on a table roaring with laughter, and I started to cry because I didn't even recognize that woman anymore. You see, Leo, the deepest wounds don't always come from criticism. They come from praise that is designed to limit you, acts of care that make you feel guilty for wanting a bigger stage. That kind of love doesn't break you, it tames you. And a lion was not born to be a house cat. You don't need to leave the relationship to know you are lost. You only need to look in the mirror and no longer see the fire of a sovereign looking back at you. If there is one thing I deeply want you to understand today, it is this: you owe no one a dimmer switch for your soul. You owe no one a smaller performance. You owe no one the act of shrinking your magnificent presence so that someone else can feel secure. Someone who truly loves you will be your biggest cheerleader, your stage manager, and the proudest member of your audience all at once. They will expand the kingdom with you. They will step back, not to abandon you, but because they know your fire needs oxygen to burn brightly, to keep dreaming, to keep becoming. You have the right to rule your own life without asking for permission. You have the right to feel joy without needing a justification. You have the right to pursue your ambitions without needing to explain yourself. You have the right to roar no without fearing the loss of love. And if a man makes you feel that any of those rights are selfish, then you must pause, not to leave him yet, but to ask yourself, am I living in a partnership, or am I the star of a one-woman show in a theater for one? This is not a call to abdicate. This is a call for a coronation, a return to your own sovereign soul, the one that remembers who you were before you were told you were too much. Return to your first roar, the voice of pure, unadulterated self-confidence. Leo, you were not born to be half of a whole. You were born to be a whole sun, and anyone who loves you will be thrilled to be a planet in your magnificent orbit. I know this is the hardest part to hear, not because it demands change, but because it asks you to look at the throne where you once sat proud and true, and admit that you allowed someone else to quietly redefine the boundaries of your kingdom. I don't blame you. I don't judge you. I only want you to know you don't need another person's adoration to be worthy. You only need to turn back and declare to yourself, with all the power of your fiery heart, I am done being managed. I will not abandon myself again. Stay with me for the final part, because this is no longer about who hurt you or who dimmed your light. This is the place where you learn to walk back to the center of your own stage, not with anger, but with the divine right of a ruler returning to their throne. And sometimes healing doesn't come from answers. It comes from the moment you stand, still feel the sun on your face, and say to yourself, I am enough. I am the goddamn sun. You have forgiven them many times. Not because they deserved it, but because your magnanimous heart believes in the power of loyalty. You didn't roar about it. You just dimmed your light a little more, pulling your brilliant energy inward like a star collapsing on itself, placing it where no one could see its full intensity. You still smiled. You still performed. You still said, it's okay. But each time you chose that quiet performance, you took one more step away from your own throne. Leo, you were not betrayed by someone else first. You were betrayed by yourself, the moment you didn't trust your own royal fire. Your soul is a blazing sun. It saw the shadows long before your mind could name them. And each time you denied that inner roar, you pulled a veil of clouds over your own light. You feared being alone on your throne. You thought better to have a co-ruler, even a flawed one, than to reign alone. But do you remember those moments? lying next to them in a palace of your own making and feeling a chilling emptiness. Those days when you said, "I'm fine," but your soul was screaming for a real audience, for a real kingdom. Loneliness does not come from the absence of people, my dear Leo. It comes from the absence of a connection to your own power. And how many times have you abdicated that power just to hold on to something you called love? But my beautiful friend, the cosmos can only flood your kingdom with light when you are brave enough to banish the shadows. The sun cannot shine in a heart still cluttered with the gilded bars of a cage you have not yet dismantled. The universe says, whoever believes in their own light, even in darkness, will become the sun. The spiritual masters taught that letting go is not weakness. It is the ultimate act of power. It is the rope you untie from your own hands. You thought you were strong because you endured, because you kept shining for them. But in truth, the greatest strength is knowing when to stop pouring your light into a void, not because you stopped loving, but because you started loving your own radiance again. A Leo I know once wrote this in her journal. "I don't know why I keep trying to make him see my light. I have tried to leave so many times, but every time I think about it, I feel this terror, like I have nowhere else to go. Like if I leave him, I leave the only audience I have left." She continued, "But today, I choose sacred sovereignty over a love that needs me to be small. I choose to be my own audience." And that was the first night she dreamed of her own coronation in over a decade. Some truths are only seen in the brilliant glare of honesty, and some truths can only be lived when you dare to touch your greatest fear, the fear of choosing your own magnificence, even if it means standing in the spotlight alone for a while. You've forgiven that person many times, but this time it's time to forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for quieting your roar, for ignoring the decrees of your soul, for dimming your inner fire just to keep an outer image intact. You don't need anyone else to understand. You don't need a man to put a crown on your head and say you were right. You don't need to prove anything. You only need to stand before the mirror, look into your own eyes, and say, even if just once in your life, with all the conviction of your being, "I choose me. I choose my light. I choose my kingdom." Choosing yourself isn't selfish. It is your divine purpose. It's the journey back to the throne room of your heart, throwing open the heavy curtains and letting the full, glorious, unapologetic sunlight pour in. It's when you place your hand on your chest, and for the first time in a long time, you feel that powerful, rhythmic beat, and you know it is the drumbeat of a ruler, not one you've been performing to please someone else. Leo, you are a soul, blessed with extraordinary charisma and a life-giving spirit. You inspire what others can't see. You create where others see nothing. You touch the lives of others with a warmth no one ever taught you how to generate. But because of that, you are easily led astray if you don't keep your own inner sun as your compass. You once knew your power. There was a childhood where you directed plays, built forts, drew logos for your future empire. There were days you laughed from your belly, sang at the top of your lungs, and felt everything with a passion that needed no one's approval. Then you grew up, and someone called you too much. Someone laughed at your grand ambitions. Someone slowly chipped away at your glorious confidence, using sweet words that sounded like care. And you began to lock yourself inside a performance someone else directed. You called it love, but truly, it was forgetting. Today, I am not here to tell you to leave. I am here to help you call your power back. Call back the parts of you that you downplayed. Call back the old ambitions, the music that made you feel invincible, the frozen dreams of the legacy you are meant to build. Because this time, you don't get to leave yourself behind. Not because others might be hurt, but because if you keep going like this, the only thing that will be left is a cold, empty throne and a crown gathering dust. Leo, you don't need to shine brighter. You just need to be honest about your own light. You don't need to know the entire strategy for your next campaign. You only need to take one step away from the shadows that made you doubt yourself. One step toward the sacred spotlight that is opening just for you. And if you're standing at a crossroads, if you don't know what to do, remember this. You've been the supporting cast long enough. You don't need one more night hoping they'll finally see your brilliance. You don't need one more moment healing a wound to their ego that you didn't cause. If you have journeyed with me this far, maybe you are standing before a profound decision. And you don't need to rush. Just don't you ever turn away from your own magnificent self again. Because the messages I will share in the future will no longer speak of this pain. They will be messages from the universe, from your sovereign soul, from the deepest part of the light, where you will see that this ending is not a loss. It is the doorway back to your own coronation. If you feel your own fire stirring in your heart, that powerful roar beginning to build, do not let it pass. Leave behind a royal decree in the comments of this video as your way of declaring to the universe, this time I will not betray my own throne. Thank you to the courageous and unbreakable Leo for walking with me to the end of this journey. Not everyone has the courage to look at the shadows in their own kingdom. Not everyone is proud enough to reclaim themselves after every wound to their pride. But you did. With quiet resolve, with hidden tears, with nights no one knew you were planning your return. I pray for you that every morning will feel a little more radiant, that every night will feel a little more powerful, and that if someone new comes into your kingdom, it will be not because you need an audience, but because you are already the star, the director, and the entire damn show. And that kind of light cannot stay hidden anymore. Thank you. And may your soul from this moment on never again need permission to be who you truly, magnificently are.